Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to our first online Inspire talk. It's all very new to us, so please bear with us. But yeah, hopefully this all works and we can all join in. So
once we've done this, we can. The world is our oyster.
Oh, sorry, I've got some feedback. Absolutely. Let me just sort that out. There we go. Right. So this is the first of our 2 talks for our April Sustainability Month. And today we'll be hearing from Walter and Paul from Walter Jack Studio, which is an architectural and sculptural design agency based in Southville in Bristol. They'll be talking about an exciting upcoming project called PositiveNegativePositive. And it combines a really unique opportunity for design training and product development, together with a major public art commission. And there's a focus on maximising the materials they'll be using and creating minimal waste. So we'll start with an introduction to the project from Walter, followed by an overview of the course structure from me. And we'll have plenty of time for you to ask some questions and find out a bit more. So you'll either need to be logged into the YouTube so you can use the chat function to ask us questions, and I'll keep my eye on that. Or you can, if you can't do that, you can email your question to the factory at kwmc.org.uk, and we'll do our best to get those answered for you in the time that we've got. So over to Walter.
Hello everybody. Hi. This is great. Thanks very much, Fiona, for that. So yeah, I'm here with my colleague Paul, who's at home but online. You won't see him at the moment, but as soon as the questions come up, then he'll appear and answer some of the questions as well. So I'll try to be brief and succinct. First of all, what is Positive and Negative Positive? Well, it's a public art project. So like all public art projects, it's the intention is to do some artwork in the public space, and that's what we're doing, and also to engage with the community. And that's where this side of the project comes in. We're interested in making as an activity as well as a way of getting stuff. Paul and I are both very interested in making as an abstract idea. And of course, there's lots of interesting making going on in Hengrove, in this part of Bristol. And it's exemplified, I think, by lots of the work that the Factory and Norwest Media Centre are doing. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a shot at flipping the camera around, which is not my strong point, but I think I can do it. More options, toggle camera. And now I'm going to there. So I think now, just reassure me that's all right, Fiona, can you?
Yeah, that looks good.
Yep. So I think you can see here is a figure. And so this is obviously a model of a building, and the building is, it's adjacent to South Bristol College's Hengrove site, that rather strange walkie-talkie building that's there. And it's quite close to the new hospital and the leisure centre, the swimming pool. So you'll know that, if you know the area, you'll probably know the Kia housing development that this is part of. Okay, so this is called the Energy Centre. It's like a kind of giant boiler room, really, for a lot of the apartments that are either side. And it's got an entirely blank facade. And for that reason, we chose to cover that facade, to make that facade a more interesting thing. So it's covered, you can see in the background, a real life brass panel, and I'll talk about that in a minute. These are obviously miniatures of it for the model, and you can see that there are lots and lots of those. There's about 100 of those, I think, and that they all have different cutouts, different holes cut out of them. Now, all of those holes are only representative because what the holes end up being is up to all of you. That's the point of this project. Okay, so that's, as it were, the architectural side of it. So here's one of the panels. So you can see it's got folded edges and slightly tapered edges so that it does a more interesting thing on the building. It's made out of 1.5mm thick brass sheet, and all the panels will be made from that. 1.5mm brass sheet, by the way, is pretty much the same thickness as a penny, if you're finding it difficult to kind of get a sense of what 1.5mm thick brass is like. It's the thickness of a penny. Okay, so there's the panel, and obviously the panel is full of holes. Out of the holes have come parts. This is only representative. This is something that my colleague Paul drew up and had cut out. So out comes the part. That's the part. This also is the part, but here we've taken out some of the smaller parts that the laser had removed, and we've also folded it because enough of the material was cut away that it's easy to fold by hand. So I can simply, with finger pressure, I can fold that over. So that's really to describe some of the opportunities you have. So you have the opportunity to design what is cut out from a number of these panels, what is cut out, and then what you do with what is cut out. So I'm just going to grab my notes a minute. So for us, there are a few issues on the building. We want these panels to be strong, so we don't want to cut away too much from the panels. We want to make them unclimbable so far as possible, so we have to be careful about putting big apertures low down on the building. We can put bigger apertures higher up on the building. The layout, we will lay out your part. So if you decide to do something of this shape, for instance, we'll decide how many of them go onto a panel. So you don't need to think about the layout on the panel, only about the products that you want to be removed from the panel.
Oh, Walter, your video's just dropped out.
Oh. All right. So I think that's because it said, is it back now?
Yeah.
Good, thanks. Yes, so one of the other points, I'm nearly finished with this now, one of the other points I wanted to make is about cost. So you can have very small parts cut out, like this, which is a sort of earring size piece of brass. If you can see that, that would make quite a nice earring, in my opinion. But we can't have thousands of those. So obviously that piece, you could cut thousands of them out of a brass panel, but we can't go on forever with it. Otherwise we'll run out of money in it. Okay, so those are the issues from our side. From your side, I've shown about the tab folding. That's an opportunity and a possibility that can be explored. We'll be doing prototyping, so you can try things out, pass things back and forth with ourselves and with Fiona at the factory to try things out and get our advice about how well something might or might not work. And of course, you can finish the material in different ways so that it's brass. It can be pre-aged and patinated, which is quite interesting. And of course, you can, off your own backs, use other materials. The metal could be woven into, or you could add wooden parts, or you could bolt things together. So we're rather excited, as I hope you can tell, that there are lots of opportunities to be had from this project. Okay, I'll stop there and hand back to Fiona.
Great, thanks, Walter. So yeah, hopefully that's good for everyone to see kind of more visually what it is that we're talking about, with the positives that are the products you're creating and the negatives that are going to make the cladding for the building. So in terms of the course itself, for those who don't know, my name's Fiona and I'm lead on the training and skills program at the factory. And so I'll be facilitating this course together with Paul and Walter, and help you to learn 2D design skills so that you can create digital files for your designs that will then be laser cut into the brass and work towards developing a product of your own. So we have had to mix things up a bit considering the current circumstances. So as you can imagine, a lot of stuff is going to happen online, whereas it would usually have happened in the space, but we're still really excited about the opportunity to do this. It does mean that participants will need access to a computer and Wi-Fi at home to join in, at least for the first bit of this course. But we do hope that at a later date, we might be able to host a much smaller group at the factory to give access to our computers and Wi-Fi and enable other people to take part. So do bear that in mind. And we're thinking we'll probably run weekly sessions from May, starting early May. We'll have a kind of icebreaker for everyone to meet each other virtually and see who's on the course, and then we'll dive straight into learning the 2D design skills and this, using a software program called Inkscape, which some of you may have used before, but for those who haven't, it's free and it's online bit of software, and we can use it to make vector files, which is what the laser cutter works off, and it's quite easy and intuitive to get started, and we'll guide you through all those steps. And yeah, then we'll alternate between a sort of self-led week where you'll work on your designs in your own time, and we can have individual check-ins and see how you're getting on. And we'll also then have design tutorial weeks where we'll come together as the full group, or maybe split into slightly smaller groups, working with Walter and Paul again to kind of review your designs, give feedback and suggestions for how you might develop those designs even further. So as you probably can gather, it's quite a new process doing all of this online. So we'll be working hard to try and make sure the platforms we use are as user-friendly and easy to access as possible, and give you a space to keep asking questions, be able to talk to each other and help you feel connected, so you don't feel like you're on your own through this process. So Walter, do you have anything else you want to add at this point, or is it a good time to move on to some questions?
Well, there's only one thing that I thought of, which will probably come up in questions anyway, but I've mentioned about the 1.5mm brass. There are possibilities to go a little thinner to 1mm, which does make a surprising difference to the sort of weight and feel of things, and certainly to go thicker, not very much thicker, but you know, there's flexibility within it all. That's all I wanted to say at this point.
Okie doke, that's good to know. So the first question we've had is there a minimum size of design that you are expecting? Sorry, your sound's gone.
Would you like to say something about? Yeah. My sound's gone.
Oh, it's back. Sorry.
Is it back?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Thanks. Paul, what would you be able to say something about?
I'm struggling to hear you, but if you're asking me about the area we've got to work in is about 400mm square, and we can do all kinds of different size items within that, from the tiny earring size pieces that Walter showed you. We'll just be able to work with your ideas and see how they can fit.
Great. They're also asking how malleable the material is.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, go on, Paul.
Well, the way we'd created a fold in that example piece was by using some little tabs, like a postage stamp, and they can be different sizes. So it can be a tougher fold. It's relatively soft material, the brass. But like Walter said, there's going to be an opportunity to prototype this, so try out your ideas to see if it's going to be strong enough, and see if we might need to change the size of any little tabs. But it's quite easy to work with.
Let me just chip in there. Let me just show whoever or everybody and whoever asked that question. Can you see this this little prototype on the screen now?
Yep.
Yeah. So you can see that what we've done first of all is to cut out about a 1mm width of slot. That's in. Oh, hang on, it's all got in a muddle now. So that there is a 1mm slot.
Just move it across a little. That's it.
Oh, like that. Sorry, yeah. So you can see these 1mm slots there, and then we've removed the material out of that slot, but left, as Paul was just saying, these 3 tabs. So that enables it to be folded just like a sheet of stamps is easy to fold where it's been removed. So I hope that answers the question, but I think the bigger answer to the question is, if you want it folded in various ways, have a shot at thinking that through. We'll come back, we'll enable it to be folded. It's perfectly malleable, And by cutting away enough of it, we'll be able to do, I think, an awful lot of what you might be wanting to do with it.
Great. And there's another question that's quite kind of connected to materials, so I'll do that one next. So they're asking, is the wall sun facing? I'm just wondering how different finishes could lend themselves to the final effect.
Well, there's two things that when we get the brass cut, it will be raw brass. And so the brass we put on the building, we will decide about the finish on that brass. It will probably have no finish at all. The brass that you're given will also be raw. It will have no finish on it at all. So then it will be up to you to finish that brass in whatever way you want. So it is very separated in the sense that it will be the brass we get to put on the building and the brass you get, and you can do whatever finish or treatment you want onto that.
I think the building actually does get some good sun on it, and we're also going to tip all the panels slightly, so they'll all catch the light differently. So it should be quite an interesting effect. A few different layers of things going on with the different cutout shapes and the tipped panels. So yeah, even the raw material should be quite shiny and exciting to see on the finished building.
Yay, shiny. Right, we've got a question about time scale, which I might just jump in to start answering that. So in terms of the time scale of the course, we're looking at sort of starting in May, and at the moment I'm thinking a kind of weekly catch up over May and June, and to get to a point where everyone's got a design that is at least at the point of being prototyped. And we'll have to see how things go with how that'll work. It's likely that I'll need to do the laser cutting prototyping for people and send them there or show them online their cut out designs, but things might change a little bit. So I think it's worth saying that we're at the moment still quite happy to be flexible and adaptable to what works for the kind of participants. So we're kind of imagining a weekly sort of, then 1 week might be a check-in, 1 week might be a skills training session, 1 week might be a design tutorial with everyone. But we can potentially mix that up a bit if needs be. Don't know if you've got anything to add to that, either Paul or Walter. Maybe with when the cladding itself.
The time scale for the whole project, the building that we're going to be working on is kind of there and finished at the moment, although it's in the middle of a building site, which is going up. Well, it was going up at a rapid speed, and they've asked us to finish the project by the end of the year. So there's nothing stopping us. As soon as hopefully later in the year, the building site will be back in operation, and we had to put our panels on there towards the end of the year, which is our plan. But it seems it's quite flexible as well. There's no great pressure on that.
Great. Yeah, and I think we talked about if we do end up doing one cohort that kind of starts now or soon and does a lot of stuff digitally, and if it becomes available later in the year to have some people in the space, it might be that there's sort of 2 phases of actual designs being created, and it might be that brass panels are cut for one cohort and then the other one, but then there's come back together to do a kind of final design. So it's still a bit not up in the air, I wouldn't say, but it's definitely we'll be looking at it kind of month on month how it'll pan out. But I think May and June initially for the course. Right, I'll just have a look at some other questions. So how many people can be involved in the project? Do we have to apply? And if so, how do we do that? Very good question. We've said 10, is that right? Did we say 10 people?
Yes.
Yeah, and we're primarily looking to work with people from South Bristol, not exclusively, but that they're probably we'll be prioritising people from that area. I have got an application form if people are happy to fill that out, and I'll show the link once we've gone through some more of the questions. I've got a slide with some of the links on there, so there's a link to the form. We can also send that out to you via email. And if you're not happy filling in an online form, you can ring or email us and we can help fill that out for you. We're also thinking of booking in another session, which kind of building on from this talk. If you want a bit of time to think about it, maybe more questions pop up, and people that are particularly interested, we might get into a kind of meeting where we're all in the meeting space just for a chance to discuss things a bit more. But no set date on that or anything at this point. Anything to add? No. Okay. Question from an email. Can you share an image of the building or a plan?
We could, yes, we could share an image of the building. It's covered in scaffolding. It won't look much to see, but I think we've got a photograph of the building, and we certainly have a plan, an elevation of the building. We could share those, yes.
Great. Could you do a few panels and make a pattern that develops visually across them? So I guess that's saying not all the panels are the same.
Well, I think that my feeling is that Paul and I should probably be responsible for the distribution of panels across the building and where different cutouts appear. So I'm a little bit unsure about that. I suppose it'd be fine to see a proposal for that, but I was sort of thinking that the participants that we're talking to all of you now will be focused on their product. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that they will be focused on their product, and I think it'll be Paul and my task to distribute the panels over the building to give a pleasing effect. And there are also, of course, the issues of climbing and of robustness. So there are a few technical things to think about in terms of putting it on the building. So I might be a bit reluctant to have somebody trying to draw a pattern across several panels within the building. Yes.
But say maybe someone's developing a product and they try it in a few different scales for whatever reason, that might give you some nice material to play around with the
Absolutely it might. Yeah, no, that's true. That's absolutely true. I agree. Yes.
Cool. Someone's asking, are you asking people to submit a pattern or design that fits into a 40 by 40 centimeter brass panel? So I suppose yes is the answer to that, but by the end of the course, it's like a process that you'll join us on to get to that point, rather than just asking people to submit a done and dusted design. The point is that we'll take you through the training, we'll help you through the design process, we'll discuss and give feedback and things along the way, and then you'll get to that point of having that pattern or design. But it's more about it being a product, I think, isn't it? The final thing that you have cut out of brass, so it's not just a kind of pattern for a pattern's sake. The hope is that it's got a kind of purpose to it as well.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, absolutely, that's the case. It's also worth saying that people will certainly be getting more than one. You know, from doing the maths, you can see that you'll get more than one panel. So a bit like that image that I showed of the model, there will be, there are lots of opportunities. It's more than one panel. We wouldn't want a single thing that's 40 by 40, ideally, because that would just leave a big gaping hole in the panel. So we're looking for smaller things, but with a great variety of scales.
And someone on that kind of note is asking, is there an expectation for every panel to be unique, or maybe larger blocks of duplicates could create a better visual impression from a distance? Paul, did you?
Yeah, definitely. Duplicates. We were imagining, if you came up for an idea for a product, you might want to make 10 or 50 of them, and so that there may be the shape that you come up with might be repeated 100 times across a few panels. Well, yeah, definitely we're not expecting everyone to be unique. where we're looking at, we're expecting products which might be repeated items, but yes, like I say, there's a long process through the course to get to the finished set of products and the finished facade.
I mean, it might be worth adding also that that there is going to be a certain amount of, we're getting into real details now, but there'll be a certain amount of drawing for us to do here, I think, as well. And so, broadly speaking, we are expecting repeated products. So, yeah, we're expecting repeated products. We're not expecting 200 one participant to come up with 200 different things to be cut from a brass panel, because that would involve us in a terrific amount of work. So, you know, within reason, we don't want everything to be one participant just to come up with one product necessarily, but we're certainly looking for repeats. Yeah, definitely repeat and pattern.
The example panel that you showed during your talk had sort of 9 circular shapes on it, all the same. But that idea I had would, if I was going to do more, I might do some slightly different shapes, but generally, yes, it's a series of repeated items for my little product.
Again, it's on a similar note. Someone's asking about whether the panels themselves need to be symmetrical, or can they experiment with different products in one panel? But I suppose, is that more up to you with your placement of what actually goes on each panel?
I think it is. I think that's exactly right, yes.
Cool. Right, so there's a couple more questions that are more to do with the sort of course. So someone's asking about the cost of the course, and it's free for you to take part. There is the sort of application process, because we've got the 10 spaces. It might be that we start 6 or 8 people now and save a couple for later when we can give access to computers. But yeah, it's free for you to take part, but we will need to sort of work through the application. So it depends how many applicants we get. Hopefully it'll be lots of you interested. So we'll have to sort of curate who the final participants are, but yeah, there's no cost if you get a place.
And all your material will be free, all your brass parts that you get.
Yeah, and any other prototyping materials as well. Great. And someone was asking, do you have to attend the course to participate? And if so, will that be in the day on weekdays? It's a very good question. I think you have to probably, I mean, it's a difficult one to say, do you have to attend the course? Because we might do it in a way that hopefully you can do some of the bits in your own time. So it might be that there's videos you can watch and activities and sort of homework that we set you that you can fit in and around your schedule. We appreciate everyone's got really different situations at the moment, with, you know, childcare, whether or not people are working, caring for parents and other people. So I think we'll try and do at least any session where we need to kind of be together as a group. Maybe we'll aim to do 2 versions of each session, and one might be during the day and one might be during the evening, to try and allow most people to access it. And yeah, we'll create a kind of space where you can keep asking questions and maybe other people can answer them, and we can get back to you as and when we look at the questions, and like keep the discussions kind of going, so that you don't just have to rely on the one kind of session that week is the only time that anything will be happening around the course. And we'll try and make it as adaptable to people's situations and lifestyles as possible, I would say.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Do you need to have previous design skills, or can they have ideas and learn software? No previous design skills needed. We can be a complete beginner and we can take you through that process from the very beginning. But also, if you do have previous design skills, but this is a challenge that you'd really like to take on, don't let that put you off. We can cater for a range of sort of skills and experience as people go in. So yeah, don't be worried if you've never done anything like this before. We'd highly encourage you to apply and take part. But if you're also sort of practicing designer, we'd be really interested to hear your ideas.
And I'll just add to that. Don't anyone who kind of thinks metal is a difficult material to work with, and this is sort of metal work, which of course it is, then don't be put off. Anything you can draw or cut out of a bit of paper with a pair of scissors or a knife, the laser will happily cut out for you out of the brass.
And the whole online process, we are real novices at that, so we're learning as we go. So we'll all be helping each other to try and work out how this new process is going to work.
Absolutely. Right. We've got a few more questions. Some of them are a bit more, perhaps a discussion starter, I would say. So someone's asking, is there the opportunity to get more people involved, and how can we all come together to support this in lockdown? Any thoughts on that? It's a difficult question. I think hopefully there'll be opportunity to, I suppose I talked about the 2 cohorts, so hopefully even if someone can't do it right now from home, there's still an opportunity for that to happen later for kind of smaller group. We are mostly focusing on having the 10 participants in total, I would say. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear any of the thoughts on how we might involve other people to support this.
Well, we originally had a grander idea about a little festival of making, but we're not quite sure how that's going to pan out now. But maybe later in the year, we'll be able to put on, if people can get together, we might be able to put on an event that more people might be able to get involved in. And we'll be able to, if you keep in touch, I'm sure we'll let you know how that's going on.
Yeah, do send any suggestions or ideas to the factory, and we'll happily
That'd be great.
On board. Another one, it would be good to talk more about place. Public art is so wed to the actual place. So could you talk a bit more about this?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, public art is quite traditionally taking a sort of aspect of a place. If it used to be a coal mining area, then there's something that represents that, or if those sorts of things are often brought into public art. What we're trying to do here is to sort of look to the future of this area rather than looking to the past of it, and seeing what Rework are doing, seeing what the factory are doing, this emerging idea that South Bristol is becoming, maybe in a small way, a place of digital making.
Oh, well, we lost your stream again there, Walter.
Walter?
He's dropped out there.
That's a shame. Midstream of quite a good answer. It sounded like.
See if he can come back.
Maybe while we wait for him to come back, I'll see if there's another question. Why is it important to run this as a collaboration? It is important, of course, but why is it important to you and Walter, Paul? What would you say?
Yeah, I think what Walter was just getting to before he was cut off was us trying to see all the exciting things that were going on in this little area of Bristol, and that's kind of what inspired us to come up with the idea for this project. Yeah, so I think it's not something we've done before, having sort of inviting this many other creative people into a project, but I think it's really exciting possibilities for the group to sort of learn from each other and to inform what we're doing, and when we can help with what they're doing. It just seems like a really appropriate and nice process for this idea.
Especially that kind of how local that building is, so it's in Hengrove, and you're wanting to work with people from South Bristol, so that's an area that they are attached to. Yeah,
the finished work will essentially be a big billboard for all the exciting young small businesses in the area, and say something about what's happening in that place.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning that as part of the training and stuff, we would be thinking about how, you know, these products that you make, how they can then become a business, potentially be sold, and what the kind of future is for that. So it's not just that we sort of give you the product and that's it. We want to think about the kind of legacy and the next steps after that as well.
Yeah.
Someone's asking how the partnership between Walter Paul and the Media Centre came about. Can you remember?
Our research, when we were appointed to look at a public art project for this site, we wrote a public art plan in the first case, where we did a lot of research about all the different exciting things that we saw were going on at Knoll West and other places, and that led the whole sort of overarching theme of making into actually a series of commissions, as well as this project. There's a couple of other things going on about other within the same building development, a couple of other artists working on projects to do with making, and it's all kind of evolved into one sort of big story that keeps feeding into itself, and hopefully these different projects will be able to inspire one another and bounce off one another.
Great. Yeah, so I think we've gone through most of the questions.
Great.
There was one sort of thing that I think is maybe more of a statement. Please, can you add images of the building or plans to the website for context? So perhaps if we work on getting that.
Yeah, I'm sure we can do that. Yeah.
Sorted. Welcome back, Walter.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
So did you want to recap what you were saying before you got cut off?
You're just talking about the area and the different digital making going on in the area. I talked a little bit about.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think I'd probably done. Yes, I think we wanted to look to the future and to enabling futures rather than representing, but that was just our idea, of course. Yeah.
Great. So thanks everyone for listening in. I think hopefully we've covered quite a lot on the subject, but yeah, you can find more details at our website. There's a Positive Negative Positive page on the Media Centre website, so kwmc.org.uk. You can also email the factory for more information. And I'm just going to share my screen shortly. Oh, one last quick question, actually. If we aren't selected, can we be kept involved in some way? We can definitely keep you in the discussions, and we can think as we move forward how we might get more people involved, I suppose, as it goes on. Yeah. So just going to share, hopefully this works, share my screen to show everyone a quick slide. Can you see that? So if anyone has signed up and is streaming live but hasn't registered using our form yet, hopefully you've received the link through an email anyway, but just in case you haven't, there's the link. So if you could please fill out the registration form and the qualities monitoring. If you'd like to give us some feedback on the event, which would be really useful, especially in terms of the technical side of things, because it's the very first time that we've done anything like this, then there's another link to a different form. And there's also the link to the application form for the course itself. Don't feel like you have to write down this link right now. We can easily link you to that course via email. I'll just come back and stop sharing the screen. And yeah, thank you very much, Walter and Paul. Very good to have you here on our first talk and experimenting with us. Hope you've enjoyed it and thought it went well. How did you find it?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Look forward to meeting everybody and seeing some of your ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah, really a lot.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much. And I guess I'll stop streaming now, but thanks everyone for tuning in and yeah, being part of history, I suppose, with our first talk.
Yeah.
So, thanks very much. Bye.
Brilliant. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.